that was a hayfield previously and was sprayed with herbicides before planting with no till. On sloping land, crop residues slow the downward movement of water and suspended soil particles. In this system, corn is being planted into a cover crop of barley in Washington County, Virginia. In this image, a no-till planter is used to plant a new crop of lentils into the residue of the previous wheat crop in the state of Washington. However, no-till farming does rely on the extensive use of herbicides, which must also be judiciously managed to minimize adverse environmental impacts. In addition, the repeated passage of tractors and other vehicles over the ground without plowing also leads to soil compaction, with its own set of adverse consequences, as was seen in the unit on soil compaction. Soil compaction is offset to some extent by earthworm activity. Some worms live in permanent vertical burrows, such as these. Others move horizontally near the surface, filling the burrow with casts as they move. Now, cover crops, such as this clover in an orchard in California, and mulches can serve in both crop and landscape situations to reduce the chance of erosion. This site, for example, has been seeded with turf and will need to be covered with some straw mulch, as much to conserve moisture as well as to minimize soil loss in the event of rain. Contour plowing and strip cropping are also effective conservation tillage practices. If a field is plowed and then planted in the direction of its slope, its soil will be subject to severe water erosion. On the other hand, contour plowing, or arranging rows perpendicular to the slope of the land, reduces runoff. Contour farming is a common practice in vineyards. In strip cropping systems, strips of field crops alternate with densely rooted crops like grasses or clover, which act as a trap for wind or waterborne soil particles. Strip cropping can be used in conjunction with contour plowing. Where slopes are severe, terracing is often the only available option that will minimize soil erosion. This is expensive because it involves a lot of earth movement and construction of retaining walls, and it may not be possible to use machinery on the terraces. It is widely used in countries where adequate food production cannot be achieved on level areas. The Incas of Peru built incredible terracing systems that were used to support a large population in the high Andes. Terracing can also be used to create intriguing ornamental landscapes. Dumbarton Oaks is a famous garden in Washington, D.C. that was built on sloped ground and developed with a series of stunningly beautiful terraces to a very nice effect. Waterways in the field or landscape that have been planted to sod or stabilized with concrete or similar aggregates can reduce gully formation. Stabilization of canals and infrastructure is beneficial in arid and semi-arid regions that irrigate with headwater that is openly delivered and tailwater that is openly removed from fields. Windbreaks are composed of tall, long-lived perennial species that protect against windborne soil erosion by interrupting the movement of wind or reducing its speed. By doing so, they prevent the initial movement of soil particles or shorten the distance that particles move. The use of windbreaks has been shown to increase the yields of major cereal crops by anywhere from 5 to 45% and of soybeans by 12 to 17%. On this image, a living snow fence windbreak, also known as a conservation buffer, is used along with conservation tillage in northern Iowa to reduce soil blowing. Windbreaks also capture and prevent the drifting of snow. In some cases, multi-row farmstead windbreaks that include shrubs, conifers, and deciduous trees can be used to great effect, as shown here in a farmstead in Pocahontas County, Iowa. In this farmstead in Woodbury County, northwest Iowa, The conservation system includes windbreaks, terraces, and conservation buffers. In constructed landscape, windbreak can also serve as a living backdrop for gardens and outdoor rooms and direct or prevent the movement of people. They can also act as sound and visual barriers where desirable. These hedges and screens provide a strong vertical component to a landscape and enhance the functionality and aesthetics of a site. So in summary, we have seen that while erosion may be particularly prevalent in certain regions of the country and under certain soil manipulation practices, erosion can occur anytime soil is manipulated, and appropriate practices to reduce water and wind erosion should be followed, whether a crop production system or an amenity landscape system is involved. Let's consider then review questions that might help understand the critical issues revolving around erosion. What do the terms sheet, rill, and gully mean in terms of water erosion? Why is landscaping as soon as possible at a construction site important? What is silting? When is it bad? When is it good? What is often carried in silt along with soil particles? What are some ways that plants and planting patterns are used to control erosion?